Okay, so this weekend is Halloween, and if you plan already, I'm gonna just kind of like do a brief like touch on it for anybody who's listening back. Um, so if you like go into it with a plan, just make sure you're eating your solid Fitme breakfast, your solid Fitme lunch. If on Halloween, if you're going to a party, make sure you're eating normal all leading up to it. We're going to a party Saturday and they asked me to bring something, so I'm bringing a veggie and fruit tray because I know that they won't have that stuff, and that way I can have a little bit of the other things, but I can load my plate up with veggies and fruits. And I also have like a rule with Emmett, like he gets to pick his candy, and he gets to pick a lot. Like it's like pick your favorite 30 pieces or something like that. And then we either give the rest to like a local. Last year, somebody was talking about giving it to like first responders and things like that. And I have a hard time like giving candy to people because I don't want it to be a temptation for them as well. But I thought that that was a good way to do it. And Joey will probably take it to work. But I will also go through it and say like, okay, before I ever see his candy, what is my favorite candy? Like I love Mounds and Almond Joys, and they're really rare because the kids like those aren't candies that kids get that much. And so if there are a couple of Mounds or Almond Joys, I'm going to allow myself those, but the rest is not mine. That is his candy. And so going into the weekend with a plan, making sure I have plenty of food in my fridge, making sure that I take stuff to the party that I'm going to that is healthy and that I can enjoy and still have some treats. That's how I do all holidays. Like I'm still going to hit my water, especially if I want to have a drink. I am still going to hit my movement that day. I am still going to eat plenty of vegetables that day and not go to the parties or go trick-or-treating starving to death where I want to sit there and snack on candy while we're walking down the street. And so that is my strategy, and I just wanted to share that. Does anybody have any kind of like, is anybody struggle busting it with a bunch of candy in their house right now, or is there anything we need to talk about along those lines before we kind of dive into what the topic I wanted to talk about this week was?
Yeah, I am, because my husband, he feels like we're in a new neighborhood and we're in a new subdivision, and he feels he needs to be the king of giving away full-size candy bars.
Oh,
And
yikes. This is
so
gonna be the favorite.
last week I did succumb to it, but it was more of I was starting to get a migraine, and when I get migraines, I have to feed it whatever it craves, because otherwise I'm down for days. And yeah, it was craving junk food. So I finally told him, I'm like, get it out. I mean, it's in the pantry and it's away, but now there's no open boxes. So now I'm done and I don't have to worry about that anymore. But it's like he went to go buy more, and I was like, dude, we only have 10 kids in the neighborhood. There's only like 20 houses in our
Yeah.
subdivision. And I'm like, why are you buying all this candy? Because I don't want it, because I don't have the willpower that I can say, oh, I'm not going to eat it, because I will. If it's there, I'll eat it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't bring it into the house. And so
Yeah.
that's been my struggle. So he
Yeah.
just doesn't care about me.
That's funny. It's funny how like, the people in our lives, they don't even realize what that does to us. And like we just have to be really clear, like you said, like don't buy anymore. This is really hard for me.
Yeah.
So a trick that I've used in the past too is like only buy candy that I hate, like stupid sweet tarts and Twizzlers and Sour Patch Kids and things that are like I hate chewy candy. I hate like jelly beans and like okay, this is about to tell us all we need to know about each other. Candy corn, yay or nay? My people.
I can only
Okay,
eat
good.
a couple. I can only eat a couple pieces, and you're just like, oh, candy corn, and then you eat it, and then you're like, this is gross. Ugh.
Even eat
Yeah.
it smells.
What? I cut out.
I don't like the way it smells. I don't like the way it looks.
It's like wax. I can't. Sorry, anybody listening. Candy corn is the worst. But this week what I really wanted to talk about, and then I realized that it was the week before Halloween, so I want to touch on that as well. But we're getting into the fall, and in the fall there's often like soups and stews and chili and comfort food and things like that that are coming around a lot, and we're having events and we're doing things. And so I wanted to kind of talk about specifically like one pot meals, soups and stews, and how can we make good choices around that and still enjoy our favorite things of that. And how, like, what our favorites are, and maybe what we can add to those things to make them a more complete balanced plate. Maybe not an official like Fitme plate, maybe just Fitme inspired, or maybe like not even close, but still adding something to it instead of thinking about it as like a complete, you know, detour off of the path. What can I add to this to make it a little bit more balanced, so that I can enjoy my food that I like and still have lots of nutrient dense foods with it. So for me, it's always about adding, right? Like what can I add to this? Can I add some veggies into this in some way? Can I add some more protein into this? Can I have a big salad with some chicken on the side of this? Can I have, like, I love autumn squash soup, and that's like primarily fat and protein, or fat and carbs, because it's, like the heavy winter squashes, and usually like cream in them to make them and they're delicious, and there's nothing wrong with that. I might have on the side of that, though, I might have some chicken, or I might have some pork chop or turkey or something like that with it, and a salad, maybe some arugula, because I got that like pepperiness, and really enjoy that soup, but do it in a way that I'll feel full and satisfied and still get to enjoy my thing. But then if you got chili, and chili is actually like really could be like a complete Fit Me plate, because it's got the ground beef. Just choose a lean ground beef. You got tomatoes. I will often put like peppers and onions and stuff in it too, and load it up with veggies. I usually will add butternut squash to mine as well, and then the beans. So you've got all of the elements right there in a bowl. And then if you want to have rice with it, you can have a little bit of rice for a little bit more carb, or you can have a treat and have some delicious cornbread on the side of it too, and have it Fit Me inspired. So I'm always trying to think of ways that what can I add to this fall favorite or this winter favorite comfort food and enjoy it being maybe the star of my plate. Maybe it's a side, or whatever it is, like mac and cheese. I freaking love mac and cheese. Homemade mac and cheese is the shit. And so, but I'm gonna have like a Fit Me plate size portion on my plate instead of a giant cereal bowl size portion. Now sometimes I might have a giant cereal bowl size portion, but I'm just saying there's a way that you can enjoy these things and still have a balanced meal. So let's talk about it. What are your favorite fall things?
Mine is chili.
Homemade chicken soup. Chicken and
Homemade chicken soup.
Oh yeah, chicken soup is good.
That's good stuff.
I
So
love
like
chicken soup.
my husband made chili on Sunday, and he's like, well, we got some jalapenos from one of our coworkers, and put that in there. He's like, it's gonna be too spicy, you're not gonna like it. I was like, oh, then I don't want to eat it, because I like to be able to taste the chili, not to taste the burn. And so I'm just like, fine, you did that, so I'm gonna have a salad with it. And so my salad was my main, and I just did like maybe a ladle and a half of the chili, and that was that. And so I was able to do it that way. So maybe it's a good thing he made it spicy, because then I eat as much, but
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I made chili for the Fitme team on last Friday.
oh,
It was good. We had cornbread with it. Coach Rachel made like a gluten-free cornbread, homemade. It was delicious. Nasika, you make homemade chicken noodle soup. How do you do your chicken noodle soup?
I don't even put noodles. It's literally chicken and a bunch of different veggies. But I really I boil some chicken breast, boneless, skinless chicken breast and chicken broth. And once it's cooked to the point that you can just break it apart with a fork, I throw some veggies in there, whatever veggies I want. Frozen veggies, fresh veggies, it doesn't really matter. And I just cook it until everything is kind of mixed together. And the chicken broth, get low sodium, so it alone is salty enough that you really don't need a lot of seasoning after that. But I'll probably throw some seasoned oil in there, and that's about it. If I am making it hearty, I might throw dumplings in because my kids like dumplings. And I don't even, that's literally some Pillsbury biscuits. I roll them in bowls and throw them in, and it cooks them into dumplings. So I used to do the dumplings every time. Then we started to Fit Me, so I cut the dumplings out. The soup without it is just as good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you can always have those like biscuits on the side, and if you want to have one, it's kind of like Fit Me inspired, where the kiddos can still have it. I like those dumplings too, and I like. Have you ever had the dumplings that are like long, skinny, flat ones that are frozen? You can like break them into little pieces and throw them in it too.
Because I always just make them. Or
Say that again.
I've never had them frozen. I always fake like there's some homemade deliciousness that I've made. Literally Pillsbury. This you don't have to roll them in the balls. You can separate them out. You could buy the one plates, this layered, and just throw that in, and it'll be thin, like describing.
Oh, cool. That's a good idea.
This year, I fully intend to incorporate some of the new veggies I've been trying to fit me. So I got plant in our chili last week, and they love it. This year, I think I'm gonna try to throw some eggplant and squash in the chicken and vegetable soup to see if anybody even notices. So
that's awesome. I love that. What about you, Liz?
I actually made some beef stew last night in the Instapot. So that's gonna be dinner for today. And I made brown rice. I'm gonna show you my husband. He's just looking at me.
Hey.
Beef stew it is.
So I just had beef. I made a big pot, so we'll have some for dinner. I'll probably leave a little bit out probably for tomorrow, and then maybe freeze the rest as a. I usually make a lot, and then I freeze a couple small containers, like for both of my husband and I, in the freezer, so that way on those days that I don't feel like cooking, there's like always something in the freezer. So I think I have like 3 meals, 3 or 4 already in the freezer, like different meals, the main course. So I just stick it in the freezer, and that way you're like, oh, we already have this cooked. Perfect. And then I'm not getting tired of eating the whole pot of soup. After a while it gets like, all right, I'm done with the soup. Well, at least like I don't mind eating another soup, but just trying to change out the meal itself.
How do you store it in the freezer? What are you storing it in so that it doesn't become freezer burned or anything?
So they push out, like I'll cook 1 week and then I put them in these Ziploc containers. It's not a big container, And then I'll put foil on the top and then close it. So we cleaned out our freezer a couple of weeks back, and so then I started storing all of my meals. So we have like four in there right now ready. Actually, a little bit more than four. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6. So technically, I probably didn't have to make that stew. I could have just pulled out one of those things, but what I'll end up doing is pulling one out and then freezing the stew after tomorrow or later, because it cooked in the Instapot yesterday, late last night, and then I just put it to warm up for dinner today, and then I made brown rice. So the stew just had basically beef, it had carrots, celery, onion, green onion. There was a squash in there, not banana, butternut squash in there. So technically, I guess I don't need the rice because the butternut squash is in there, but
Yeah, but it's probably not a whole serving ratio.
correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
I would still add rice. Like that's like with my chili. Like I don't put so many beans in my chili that like that would be a whole carb serving. So I can still add some rice or whatever onto it with it.
So yeah, that's
That's
dinner.
awesome.
It's dinner tonight. And I did, Monday I came home and I meal prepped for breakfast for my husband and I, and we had like Brussels sprouts with bacon, and then I did some eggs, and what else I did? Oh, hash. I swear for the life of me, I rather just do regular potatoes rather than hash because it doesn't ever come out like I want them to crunchy. And of course, if you want them crunchy, there's a lot of oil. And I don't want to do it. And I put them in the oven, I bake them, but they were okay. I'd rather just do diced up potatoes. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. I love that you said that you make a lot and then you freeze it because that's a perfect way to like make sure that like future us has some easy meals. I always try to make like a lot at one time. That's kind of how I meal prep now. I don't make meals all the time necessarily, but I always make if I'm cooking, if I'm taking the time to cook and I'm gonna make a mess and like touch meat with my hands, like I'm going to cook a lot of it at one time. And that way I can reduce the amount of time I'm like making a mess in the kitchen. I only have to clean up once and then I can just eat on it for whatever. And chili's a really good one that freezes too. Chicken noodle soup's really good to freeze. When I make my chicken noodle soup, I get a whole chicken and I do it in the pressure cooker, like my old school one that looks like you can make a bomb in it. And then after I pull all the stuff off of it, I like do the carcass and I do bone broth and then I store the bone broth in the freezer for the winter too, because it's really good for like when we get sick and stuff. So yeah, I use like all the different parts of it. But like what Natika was saying with the chicken and how I do mine, it's a really good base for a lot of different things. You could add dumplings to it, you could add noodles to it, you could add rice to it, you could, turn it into put a little bit of slurry in it or heavy whipping cream in it and make like a chicken pot pie soup. It's a really good base. Like if you boil chicken and vegetables, like it's a great base for like so many different things and you can make so many different varieties. If you were to freeze that base and then pull it out and, add different spices to it to make whatever it is. So yeah, I've made the chicken pot pie soup. That's really good too. I'm trying to think of some other of my favorites. Chicken noodle soup's definitely one of them.
Chicken pozole.
Like,
is that the one I was going to ask Isla, but she disappeared? Is that that's the one I think she was talking about? Like a soup,
Pozole?
maybe.
Mm. You can do
What were you gonna
chicken,
say,
beef,
Tanika?
or pork.
I also like roast in the fall. The pot roast with the potatoes and the
Yeah.
carrot.
Yeah.
That's not something I cook any other time
Mhm.
of the year except for the fall and maybe the winter.
Yeah.
Every time I try and cook a pot roast, it turns out disgusting. I've tried
What?
times and I do it in the crock
Really?
and I don't know what happens to it, but
Add a
it's
couple of cans of golden mushroom soup and over season it. You don't. Okay,
Over season it. Yeah, you gotta
you
season the
gotta
crap out
over
of it.
season it.
well,
You
we
gotta
did.
over
Do you
season it.
brown it?
I
Do
don't
you
know,
brown
either
it
the
before you
meat,
put it
the
in?
meat was disgusting or
Uh,
I don't know. I've tried a couple times, so maybe I'll try again this fall, but I'm just like,
I
you know,
take it you don't like mushrooms.
no, I don't.
Okay,
I like
so
the
golden
flavor
mushroom.
of mushrooms. I don't like the texture of mushrooms. So like,
So there isn't really mushrooms in golden mushroom soup. You wouldn't taste or the texture. It's like a cream of mushroom soup. It's similar to that. It's nothing in it that it's not like a whole mushroom will be in your mouth.
yeah,
But
I
it
would,
does
mm.
add to the flavor of your pot roast. And it would be at the bottom. By the time it was done cooking in your crock pot, all of that's just used to
Mm.
help flavor your meat.
okay.
So any of those
Something that my
cream of
mom does.
some things will help your flavor.
Okay.
I don't like to use those just because they have so much stuff in them, and I've always been curious about like making my own. But I'm just not there yet.
Do
I
it
don't.
and give me a
I would rather
recipe.
use a can before I'd make them. Huh?
Do it and then give me a recipe.
Okay, I'll figure it out. And because I've seen where like people will make their own so that it's cleaner and then
Hmm.
use it as like a thickener, like gravy or whatever. And I just like have never done it. Um,
What do
I
you
just
make?
kind of like the cream of whatever soups
Oh, cream.
for recipes, but in a way that's like healthier.
Mhm.
Because I'm really sensitive to sodium, and the low sodium ones taste terrible to me. So I'd
Hmm.
rather just have like the real one if I'm gonna make, like if there's some recipes you gotta use, like broccoli casserole, green bean casserole, you gotta use it. And it's just not the same if you don't. Um, but yeah, I try to use it sparingly just because it'll blow me up like a balloon. Um, but I have a funny story about pot roast. So when I was first married, I was not a good cook like that. It wasn't like inherently, I've learned a lot over the years and become the cook that I am now, but I was not always a good cook. And I made this pot roast in the crock pot like that. I didn't brown the meat first, and it was so salty and horrible. And we're sitting there eating it, and Joey's acting like it's delicious. And I was like, I cannot even finish this. And he's like, no, no, it's good. And I'm like, you don't
Oh.
have to lie to me. It's terrible. Stop eating it right now. And then it was just awful. I have not made one in the crock pot since. Um, but when I make it the way my mom made it, he thinks it's too dry, and so I just don't make roast anymore.
In a roaster instead of a crock pot.
I have this like it's called the Magic Pot, and it's like this super old school like pounded aluminum roaster pot, and that's what my mom uses. And so
Yeah.
I have one, but like I said, he's real weird about his meat. Like if it's dry, he just can't. And so I
Need
love
help?
roast. He thinks it's too dry. He's like, you shouldn't need gravy for meat. And I was like, yes, you should. That's exactly what you need it for. I'm like, whatever. I love roast. My mom makes roast when she comes to visit me, but I don't make roast.
I hate gravy, so that's the thing. I don't.
Oh, really? So you gotta have it. It has to be
Open up.
moist.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be dry, but I just don't like if it's like I fixed this one dish. We call it soup. So it's cream
Yeah.
of potato and cream of chicken soup.
Might want to
and
schedule an appointment.
with some water and dump it over pork chops, and you just
I've
bake
been
it at
on the
2 hours.
browser and nothing.
It just is delicious, but I like pick up the pork chop, shake everything off, and then put it on my plate. You know, my husband loves gravy, so he just dips it in and uses the soup as the gravy, but I don't. You know, I fixed it the other
That's
night,
funny.
but I'm like scraping everything off, and I don't put it on my mashed.
That's
I have to
hilarious.
use potatoes, no gravy, because I just had a bad experience with gravy when I was
That's
a
so
kid, and I
funny.
just ate it ever so. Got the lump, got the lumpy thing, and when my mom made gravy
Oh,
once.
come on.
Bleh.
That's funny. That's so funny. Anything else? What are some other faves? I think that really just the moral of the story is think about, instead of taking away or instead of avoiding our favorite things this holiday season, like what can we add to the side of it so that we can make a more balanced, complete meal? Even if it's not a Fit Me plate, even if it's just like Fit Me inspired, even if it's not Fit Me inspired, but we can get a little closer to Fit Me inspired. Mainly because when we eat balanced, healthy meals, like when we eat veggies and protein and healthy fats and carbs, our blood sugar is balanced. We feel satisfied and satiated. Like we're gonna feel better, and we're gonna be able to avoid the treats that we really didn't go into it wanting more if we're satisfied and full and our body is happy. And so that was really the moral of the story.
That's a great outlook on it, though, because then you don't have to go, oh, I can't have that. It's going to be, I'm going to, tweak it to be healthier. So, like, having a chili and having a salad and vegetables with it, So it's like my staple now is always to have vegetables or a salad with all of my meals. And, before I would eat like corn or beans, and now, I love broccoli and carrots and peas and all that good stuff. So I like that idea because that way you're not, I don't know, restricting yourself from enjoying the food you like.
Absolutely. And it's something too that like I think is really hard ingrained in us for, our whole lives. We're like, eat less, or if I want to have this thing, it has this many calories. So that means that I have to eat less calories. And the idea of eating more, even though like instead of having like my little tiny bowl of, I don't know, something indulgent, instead of just eating that, because that by itself is, 400 calories, I'm actually going to add food to that because my body will feel better, and I will end up eating less in the long run if my body feels full and satisfied. And so, because I'll always go like, oh, well, I'm still a little hungry. I'll just have a little bit of this, or I'll just have a little bit of that. And that's still fine. But instead of thinking about it in calories, think about it in like balanced meal. And it doesn't matter that, that side of macaroni and cheese that you've been thinking about for a week, it has more calories than like your normal dinner would by itself. You still want to have some protein, you still want to have some vegetables, you still want to like enjoy all of it together, because at the end of the day, it's really just carbs and fat if you think about it, and so if we think about what we can add instead of taking away, I think that is a good way to, think about stuff instead of even talking about calories. So, all right. You guys dressing up for Halloween? No? Let me take
Yes.
our picture. You are? What are you going to be?
I have a skeleton onesie. I wear it every year. It's super warm.
Oh, that's awesome.
Easy. So easy. I think it's pajamas, but I wear it as so.
That's awesome. We're being scary scarecrows this year. My father-in-law's having a Halloween party, and they're doing like a scary hayride, and this is my first like scary Halloween. I don't like scary stuff. It's not fun for me. But I let Joey pick what he wanted. Like, he doesn't like to dress up. So I was like, what do you want to be? What would be fun for you to be? And so then I just kind of like went with that. And we were going to be like Twisted Wizard of Oz, but I couldn't find Emmett a lion costume. So we're all going to be scarecrows.
So your husband doesn't like to dress up, but he's being forced to dress up?
Well, he's not being forced, but he kind of is, because everybody's dressing up for the party. And he's going to be like a scary part of the hayride.
Oh.
And so he had to pick something.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's what he picked. He was like, what about this? And I was like, okay. And I was going to be like Twisted, Scary Glinda. And then Emmett was going to be like Scary Lion I was going to make him like a vest that looks like the Tin Man's torso. Like he killed the Tin Man. But I couldn't find a lion costume. So we're all just going to be scarecrows. And I was like, oh, I could climb a tree and then hang out of the tree.
That is crazy.
I like to dress up. Obviously, you guys know me.
Yes.
So anytime I get to dress up, I get excited.
And Julie, why are you so pretty this late at night? Are you at work or something?
No, I never changed out of my work clothes.
I'm half naked in the bed. You got on. What is happening?
I know, she does look pretty. Her hair looks really nice today too.
Did you forget it's nighttime?
No, if I was gonna change into my pajamas, but then I was like, well, I got the notification that, it was time for the call, and I was like, well, I can just go downstairs and I'll do a little bit of weights while I'm down there waiting for it. Because if I don't don't come downstairs, then I forget about it and then I don't join.
You worked out like that with the necklace on and everything?
Just lifted weights. I didn't do
Look
anything.
at you. That's awesome.
But
that's what we can do. You don't have to change for workouts. Get it in.
Go ahead, working out, looking cute.
That's awesome. I love that.
Thanks.
For everybody listening, Julie looks super cute. She didn't even change her clothes and got her workout in.
Yeah.
Snaps to Julie.
We're gonna have to step necklaces on or something, so we can match her face.
This is my least.
We should have a dress up food call.
Lauren,
have like a classy party.
No, man.
All right, my loves. Let me see your smiling faces. Let me take a picture and then we can go. Okay, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Awesome. Cheese. All right, loves. Have a fantastic holiday weekend. Happy Halloween. I want to see pictures of you guys dressed up.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
You too.